Welcome, audiophiles and cinephiles alike, to the Beneflicks podcast, the show where we are reaping the Beneflicks one film at a time. I am Liz.
I'm Tyson.
I think I said film instead of movie, dude,
Oh, fuck.
because we are relegating this topic to a film today, not a movie. But before we get into that, how are you doing, my sleeping beauty?
Long time no see.
I know.
It's been a little bit. Been busy with some antics and different little creative avenues and
hmm
whatever's. Yeah, it's been for the viewer, I guess, 2 weeks, right? It feels longer, weirdly enough, but it's only been 2 weeks. But I've been
Yeah.
good. Yourself?
It's a barn at home. It's a back at the barnyard. I've been okay, man. I been trying to stay productive. Been trying to get more hours at work. Because I need the boring side of life. I need to do a couple things to my car. Um, but I'm good, man. We had a really good night last night watching four films. I'm not going to say one of them because I think that's either going to be our next week's episode or the week thereafter, and I need to let that fester. But I will say that I think we went on an absolute generational run last
Agreed.
night watching movies. We reaped a myriad of Beneflicks
Agreed.
last night, and it was very needed. I think from when we started really going to LA in 2024 and somewhat of 2025 till now, we have really approached it and reframed it differently given life responsibilities, things becoming more expensive, things like gas, food, quality of life stuff. And just you owning your space has made it a much easier opportunity to come over and just watch stuff.
Yes.
So when we do go to LA, we really plan for like making it a good old bonanza, and where we once would just go see a movie, we now go see several. And
Yeah.
last night was very good. Obviously, in terms of working in tandem with the movie we're talking about today, it's always good whether with this movie we loved or didn't. It's always good to just be ruminating in a moment that has to do with Spider-Man, because you know us, like we love it. But outside of that, yeah, I'm solid, man. Slept over at your place, got some good needed sleep, getting over a head cold. But I'm solid, man. I'm solid. I really am not the biggest fan of August. I think August, like historically in California, is the hottest month of the year. But like it also is when school starts again, so it doesn't feel. Again, I think the true feeling of summer is long since gone because like we're not kids anymore. But I think like August is just like this filler month for me, waiting for it to start to get cooler, and then that's when like all the stores like start really pushing the fall stuff. And I really like I would love to do some stuff this fall. Like I always talk about how much I love fall, but I don't think we do nearly enough with it.
Yeah. No, I agree. Fall's an interesting time because, like, obviously, it's not like the beach, the beach
Yeah.
season like summer is, and winter you got the snow, and we kind of try to make those months feel as cozy as possible with what we're watching and like what we're talking about.
Yeah.
If anything, though, I think we have a bigger grasp on fall than spring. Like spring is like a nothing season to me.
Yeah.
Spring is just allergies, and it's beautiful weather. Don't get me wrong, but it's also like it's a little bit too cold for like outdoorsy stuff. But the like excessive winds and breezes, just like for someone like me who gets like very crazy allergies,
Yeah.
it's just not fun.
No.
And like vibe wise too, it's not even all there like a fall. Like fall and spring are obviously like the filler seasons, but like fall is so much more. It's Halloween. It's Thanksgiving. There's a very certain like color palette and vibe to it. Spring is just bright and sunny.
Yeah.
And full of allergies.
I do think though that one thing that I'm realizing that I think spring that we do inadvertently is that is like the month where we get to catch up on all the movies, or the few months that we get to catch up on all the movies from the year prior. So I think that gives us a really good sense of direction in a time where like the year doesn't offer very many great movies at that time so early in the year, and we've been proven wrong. I mean, like this year we got like Bone Temple, Iron Lung, we had Dry Leaf, we had like a lot of really great movies. But it also like it is cool to know that like I forget what month we started our podcast, but like it really is the month that we're the few months from January to like March, maybe a little bit of April, that we can like go full steam and look back on all the movies we missed.
It's a good little like reflection
Hmm.
time,
Hmm.
but it's unfortunately I think it's only posited in spring because it's just after winter when everything comes out. So
Hmm.
it's not even like a spring. Well, spring cleaning, whatever, yada yada
Sure,
yada.
sure.
But you know, we'll see. August is also for me kind of like such a nothing month, especially with work because
Yeah.
the movie theater starts being busy. Everyone starts going back to school.
Hmm.
In terms of like film releases, like for like what we're actually talking about in terms of like podcasting, we're like in a real dry spell for like at least till November.
Yeah.
It's like pretty
Yeah.
gnarly. Even like October isn't looking too.
Yeah.
Um,
I think we'll always find, like, I think as it is, we had to skip the week. Sorry guys, we had such a extensive week last week that really necessitated our faculties to be placed elsewhere. Like, we did a project together. We could talk about that a bit more in a second, but yeah, I mean, even barring that, like, I think we have our next at least like 3 episodes planned. One of which it just could be like the most boring thing ever because you're not really shooting for a movie that I'm shooting for. I hope it comes out and we love it, but
yeah, me too.
I it also kind of sucks too because you work for the company and I'm not trying to shit on it, but like, man, the fact that like some of the movies, if we don't see them the week they come out, like we have to drive like 30, 40 miles to a theater that then is showing them, just sucks, you know?
Yeah,
Where maybe, and it's interesting because where we live, at least, there is more Regals than there are AMC's.
yeah,
Yet the AMC that we have closest to us, it has like 30 auditoriums, so it's showing like the craziest B-side bullshit ever. But like even then, I think we will find. I have not a slight fucking clue what the fuck comes out in September though. Like I actually no.
yeah. Nothing is popping out to me right off the bat. I couldn't
Hmm.
even fully tell you. I think September might be prime time
Is that September? You know
or
what?
either that or October.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
Besides that, though, nothing. I mean, I think because Coyote vs. Acme is this month.
That is this month. That is this month, yeah.
Um,
Are we gonna go see that? Do we have to see that for the culture?
yeah, for the culture.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, you have to see it for the culture, and plus, it doesn't even look half bad. I
No.
like seeing John Cena and stuff.
I don't did we neither of us really had, like, any, like, growing up with the Looney Tunes, did we? Did you?
I watched like the Cartoon Network show like in passing here and there, but
Mm,
like not even like the legit like old 40s and 50s one.
mhm.
It was like the remake.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just, like, looking right now, the only real thing that's coming out is Resident Evil, like,
Oh, okay.
just straight bullshit. I
Will fall in October.
oh, and you're all right, Primetime does come out, Your Mother, there's a few shoddy bays here
Yeah,
and there.
we can make it too. Country girls make do.
Dude, dude, dude. Did you dream last night?
Yeah.
Do you remember your dream? You don't have to disclose it on the pod.
I think so. Yeah.
Dude, my dream was fucked up. Have you had a dream that has necessitated you texting someone?
Yeah, all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
You and I dream in different fonts, dude. That is such a sad thing. I wish I dreamed. I wish I remembered my dream more. I'm lucky if I'm able to at least remember a flavor of it when I wake up. But I also, the only time that it hits me most common is like throughout my day. Like it's triggered by like a moment, like it low key like a premonition. You know, like you dream about something that then becomes true,
Yeah.
and then that's when like a flavor of it comes into my head. I just wish I dreamed more, man. I love sleep, and as we get older, we need more of it.
I agree. No, my dreams are that they vary between like horrifying and like existential to just like very quaint and simple. I think I told you before, but I don't dream about like if pigs can fly or like having superpowers or shit like that. Like my dreams
Yeah.
are like a lot more like based in reality, which is fine.
Hmm. Hmm.
But with that territory comes a lot of opportunities where like I'm dreaming about people that I don't really like contact that often, like especially like family.
Hmm.
And like if I dream about like family and like it's a really like gnarly or intense dream and I'm like, oh fuck, like I should probably text this person just in case it is a premonition
Yeah.
or just in case I experience deja vu. I don't want to like basically not say like, oh, like love you, hope you're having a good day.
Yeah. I really am I really do believe, and I think there many people can pick holes at where I stand on a spiritual level because I do kind of frown at those who like take organized religion as like true fucking like truth and like they let that dictate their entire life based off of what a book says. But I think like for me it's something inherent more to like what you feel gutturally. And I'm not trying to say that what those people aren't feeling is guttural, but like for me, I really do. I am like the firmest believer of like manifestation, and if you really do put something out there, like it will return to you in good or bad ways in some form. And like I kept having this dream. I think it was because I had to go to my grandfather's like birthday, and then we talked like I hate restaurants that like charge so much for like mediocre food, and like it's the sort of restaurants that people like above the age of like 40 go to, you
Yeah.
know? Not for me. I deem them the thick, like the thick plate ones, the heavy plates. Just I don't like them. We went and it was all these different old people, and I've said several times, maybe it's my youth, but I don't ever see myself growing old. I just don't. I never have. And I was thinking about like the realm of like my partner getting old and just like concepts like that, and then for some reason, this visual of like them in the hospital and not even at an old age, just like them in general, and like it would like knock the wind out of me, and I like started getting like teary eyed at the table, but then like the next day, there's just like a minor accident that happened. They're totally fine. But it is the craziest thing of how, and then like that, like in between I had a dream about it too. It is so crazy the way that your mind sort of takes shape of things in ways that then translate into your dream. And I, not to say that I do believe that those were all correlated, but I do think that like you kind of make connections and correlations with what happens in your day to day. And I think it is just a really, really crazy thing, especially when you dream about people you don't talk to anymore. Like there are like not even B characters. There's like straight like D characters that I've exchanged like twice with that I
Yeah.
still dream about.
Yeah, no, it's weird.
It is very fucking weird. It is very fucking
Our
weird.
subconscious is a strange little place. Uh, and I used to like be a firm believer that like all of your dreams like were like
Hmm.
a deeper examination of like what your subconscious was
Yeah,
feeling and whatnot.
yeah.
And I still think that like holds true for some cases, but for the most part, like sometimes your just brain wants to like just fuck with you. Like it
Without
just really wants to fuck with you bad.
and like whether you're able to like I don't know, sometimes you don't have control of how much that affects you, but
Yeah.
there's sometimes where I've dreamt that I'm like, man, I want to go back. I want nothing more than to go back. Like I'm like fucking what Josh Hutcherson in Five Nights at Freddy's looking at that like poster trying to like go back to his like dead like I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Anyway, broski. I don't know. I mean, given that we haven't recorded in a hot minute, I'm curious, man. What is that time really made you think about art wise? Hey, what's been
Do
the
you want
what's
to talk about that first or you want to talk about making the project first?
I was gonna link him. I was gonna link him
Oh.
because like I was gonna be. I thought you were gonna get the ball that I was handing to you and be like, well, the art on my mind is actually the one I made.
Oh
So
no.
let's do this again. Let's do this again. Hey, so what's the art on your mind?
Oh, probably the one that we made.
Fucking awesome segue, dude. Let's talk
Um,
about it. Let's talk about it, man.
yeah, no, it was a little like short film project that
Hmm.
we kind of uh myself and my roommate like we kind of sorry, let me frame this. So that my company that I work for, Regal, the movie
Hmm.
theater company, they were hosting a like a short film competition for employees to kind of put their own work in and yada yada yada. And for the
Hmm.
most part, like the general vibe is I don't want to say create an ad for the movie theater, but like kind of create a short film that is emblematic of the theater's values and morals and
Hmm.
whatever. So we, as both of us were like film majors or went to college for film or whatever, and we like really wanted to like, okay, like we don't get the opportunity that often to submit anything like this to our company. Like we might as well do it. Like it's kind of like made for something for us, right? Like
Hmm.
a short film competition within the guidelines of the company we work for, and that we spend like 40 hours a week at. Like we might as well put something out for it.
Yeah.
So we put together this like very like small and what's the word, what do they say in teenage death, nubile,
Yeah. Yeah.
very
Yeah.
very nubile kind of
Yeah.
concept for like this thing. And we weren't like super like, oh, like this is like emotionally tied to us or an extenuation of us as people, but much more it was like, okay, like this is something fun to do, it's very simple, and we'll just throw our hat in the ring and see kind of what happens.
Hmm.
It long version of saying we shot that recently at our work, but the hours that we were shooting at was like basically 2 a.m.
Hmm.
to I guess both days. We like ended at like 7 a.m. I guess a little bit earlier
Yeah.
on the second day,
Yeah.
but 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. and a lot of it wasn't a super big crew. I think it was like crew and cast combined was like 6 at one time, so
Mm-hmm.
super super small. But everyone getting off of their shifts and not sleeping, and
Mm-hmm.
me personally, like I worked my 8 hour and then straight into my 8 hour we went into shooting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
very long days on Wednesday and Thursday of, I guess technically speaking, for right now, last week,
Mm-hmm.
which we like to kind of record around those days, or at least like some time during the week, so that
Very
way we
much so.
can, or you have time to edit and whatnot. So yeah, just the conditions of that shooting process and getting all that together. Plus, I was on like a little bit of a mini vacation the weekend before. It was just
Mm-hmm.
a lot of chaos and
Hullabaloo.
hecticness
Mm-hmm.
in a very short amount of time. So it just made like recording an episode especially difficult, especially because the movie we're talking about today, I didn't even watch until after my mini vacation and right
Yeah.
before we ended up like shooting stuff.
Yeah.
So
And mind you, we could have, I think if we tried hard enough, like woke up a little earlier one of those days, like right before shooting, we could have recorded an episode.
oh, for sure.
But it just felt really disingenuous because like adulting has been like a core fixture in how we navigate like our recording schedule. But I think like we needed the zen moment right before the storms both days, given that like I worked, you worked, I worked an 8 hour the second day, and it got us. I definitely like was like, man, I wish we could record an episode, but I think I think it was the backrooms episode that we had to skip as well. Like the moment I'm not like really shunning either of us for not doing it, like I think it opens up to like, the whole point of this is for people to hopefully feel a level of authenticity with how we converse. Like
Yeah.
we talk about like planning things, and there are a lot of episodes we have, and then there's quite a few like partially this one today where we're just like kind of talking at just where the natural progression of the conversation goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's, I mean, like the literal art on our mind. But what has been like art outside of that that's been on your mind?
Well, obviously you referenced earlier the four we watched yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even though we probably won't talk about all four in lengths going forward, besides maybe one,
Mm-hmm.
I think that it is like I think I can hold off on like huge thoughts for those movies until then, just because I
Mm-hmm.
kind of feel like the gauntlet of all four was such an interesting
Yeah, I
mix and
think when we
match.
do our episode on like the fourth movie we watched, we
Yeah,
will
yeah,
talk about the lead up that day, yesterday,
for
to it.
surely. Um, so that's been on my mind. The MCU as a whole has really been on my mind, especially after watching spoiler alert, Brand New Day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The just the trajectory and where it was and where it's going and how it's like navigating these things, and like Doomsday is later this year, and it is weird because even though I can't say Brand New Day is the reason for it, I am like unfortunately like gutturally curious on what that movie is going to be,
Yeah.
because I think the script got leaked, and I think that like I have a very
We literally, you literally were revealing plot points. We're referring to Doomsday, right?
yeah.
You like about like getting like killed. Sorry, I'm dropping straight truth nukes here.
You have to spoil that. Someone's gonna be so annoyed by us.
Well, sure, but like, is that gonna be? I think like as you're describing, and what makes me more confident in saying these things is because like we live in a current moment right now where everyone that is on board with this movie talk about like how the script isn't fully done, but like the movie comes out in 4 months.
Yeah, but if it is right, like I just don't want to. Whatever. A long story short, that's what on my mind. And just kind of how that's going to culminate, and if it's going to capitalize on the cultural moment that it proclaims that it's going to be. Which the answer is no. But I guess it's really interesting seeing how like Brand New Day like broke a lot of records. Like it's going to be probably the highest grossing Spider-Man movie. It's it broke a lot of like theater like individually, like my theater for example, like we had our busiest weekend ever, like ever in the theater's
Wow.
entire history with Brand New Day. And I think Saturday was the day that like we had our highest attendance ever in one day was
Wow.
Spider-Man Saturday. And that's not just a common thing for my theater, that's like a common thing for like a bunch of theaters around us.
That was more. That was more than Cinema Day.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, no, Brent, that Saturday, like it really like brought the fucking house down.
Oh
So
my god.
when it's all said and done, like that movie is a cultural moment. Like even just past that point of all the trends starting and
Mm-hmm.
the dancing and the sound clips and the songs that are like on the Billboard 100 now and
Mm-hmm.
whatever, like long version of saying like that has been a moment. Doomsday is going to try to replicate that, and it's not going to do that to the same extent at all.
Mm-mm.
But it is like I'll use roommate Sierra for example. Shout out to roommate Sierra, love you roommate Sierra.
Mm-hmm.
Like the brand new day kind of gave me the vibe that like it catapulted her back into the movement. So now she's
Yeah.
watching shit and going
Yeah.
back and reflecting. And it's like, okay, like even though yes, it is MCU and it is a character embedded in the series, like Spider-Man feels so detached. At least this one does from like what they're currently doing to the point where like people are theorizing that Spider-Man isn't even gonna be in Doomsday.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just been on my head. And those movies and what is working, what isn't, and if I'll even like consider watching them because there are some that like I have heard are like pretty decent. I've heard great things about Thunderbolts um and like you really love the
We
Eternals
do.
and there's like the shooters for Black Widow and stuff. So like there are ones of quality out there. I have never even seen a Shang-Chi, which is that's the brand new day director's
Mm-hmm.
original MCU movie.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like options for me to check out, but at the same time, it's like, are we trying to force another movement? And have we ever seen a movement that is being forced actually move people?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer usually is no, right? Every time a trend tries to be started, it does not, it falls flat on its face.
Yeah.
Um, we, this is so interesting. The last video we recorded
Mm-hmm.
was for Her Private Hell, yes.
Correct.
So we also went to the cabin right afterwards,
Mm-hmm.
which is super interesting. So we watched Green Room again there.
Mm-hmm.
Reminded of how terrific and very specific that movie is. It's really funny because like it runs on its own little generator of energy and
Mm-hmm.
and momentum, and the way the script is written, it's like kind of minute and very low key. Like the way that characters talk is just so fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it's almost like of its own world, and like everyone kind of acknowledges Jeremy Saulner's like very procedural approach to filmmaking and like
Mm-hmm.
the way he writes and the way he frames and edits. Um, but Green Room is such a funny one because like it's almost like the antithetical of procedural versus pure chaos or
Mm-hmm.
unpredictability,
Mm-hmm.
and how that like can coincide and how like what ends up winning overall.
Yeah.
It's just an interesting little movie, and I think that it's like one of A24's like obviously Green Room is Green Room, people know about it, but I feel like it doesn't get enough credit,
No.
especially like when it comes to like the all-time thrillers, especially like within the 21st century. It's a
Yeah.
terrific thriller. Like it's a terrific movie, and it still scares the shit out of me. And I revoke the claim of what I said months or maybe a year back of being like, I'm not really in love with how that movie looks visually. I still think I do prefer like something like Rebel Ridge, but I do love Green Room.
We'll watch Blue Ruin too. I think Jeremy Saulnier has it on lock with how he writes his characters his lead characters so uniquely.
Yeah, I agree.
So crazy.
And then for last thing for movies I'll just bring up is thinking a lot about the director's debut, Daniel Day Creston.
Destin Daniel Cretton.
Destin Daniel Cretton. There we
Mm-hmm.
go. Thinking about his debut, you showed me that one, Short Term 12.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get into that one a bit more later, but I do want to acknowledge and say that one's been on my mind as well because that
Fuck
was
yeah.
a first watch for me.
Fuck yeah.
For anything besides movies, on the front of music, nothing like obviously a lot, but in terms of things I want to shout out, I don't want to go too extensive in it. Been really listening to a lot of like FK Twigs recently and
Nice.
that type of stuff. Jane Remover has like a lot of side projects, and there's a side project called Venturing that they've been a part of.
Mm-hmm.
The song Drunk Lullaby has been on a repeat the entire week, and then been in a very, I think I brought this up either last episode or a few episodes ago, been kind of just going down like the Brockhampton rabbit hole again, such a big part of my middle and high school
Yeah.
life. Just kind of going down again, listening to their discography, such a bunch of talented artists. One of their members, Bareface, he released a single recently called K-Bar. Like it's very like lo-fi vocally, but for music it's just been a bunch of different stuff on different fronts. But
Mm-hmm.
it's weird with these art on our mind things over stretches of a long time because it's very hard to like pinpoint something specific because
Hmm.
obviously since so much time has passed, there's been a lot of different shit in my mind. So, um, I guess it speaks to the fact that we're able to be so specific and so direct when like we do for because we record episodes like two in the same week before.
Yeah,
And I feel like I'm so much more keen with like this has been on my mind and I've been very much like thinking about this. Obviously, duh, because it's been less time to forget about it.
of
But
course.
it is funny. I feel like I experienced something very similar with the whole Backrooms recording of just like so many loose ends untied because it's been so much passage of time since recording.
Hmm.
Um, but I hope that our audience knows that we don't ever not record because we're forgetting about them or because we don't want to.
Yeah, no, quite literally. I'm always grateful to take these little dives to slow down. I think like doing this has been a pure personification of like, and I've thought about it because I feel like sometimes my voice isn't the best suited for ASMR, which I know isn't the case because I do love my voice, but I'm also like when I do the non ASMR stuff, I'm like, I like this rhythm. I like this tempo. I like that I feel like I naturally say more words because I'm speaking in a regular cadence.
Mhm.
Um, but I realize like one of the best parts about doing ASMR and this is the necessity to slow down. Like we aren't we say so much in such a big window of time, but it isn't because we're trying to jam things in, but we're letting it like be put on a conveyor belt that's just slowly moving, and I love it. I think like that is we live in an aggressive attention seeking society that it's like my aim through what I create, what we create, what I make on an ASMR level is to slow down. Just stop. Just take a moment, take a beat. And I think it's like to rectify my ADHD prone brain, which is like always trying to like get on my phone when I'm watching a movie sometimes and yada yada yada. But thank you guys.
Thank you
Yeah.
guys. We appreciate the listeners.
As for me, like you said, we made our project, and I always do the Jane Schoenbrunn thing where I'm always so curious. And Loki was even before Jane Schoenbrunn because like when I made my first thing with He Who Shall Not Be Named, this fucking abuser that I didn't know. I think I watched like The Dark Knight Rises or something like that. Like I just wanted to watch something that made me feel good before I went into making something. And right before I watched like the first hour of Halloween 2 director's cut, which has been hugely pivotal for me for the past like 2 years. And so, for obvious reasons, more so than it typically is, that movie was so heavily floating around my brain. I want to make the biggest shout out to Avalon Fast's camp that you can rent on the video rental store on Letterboxd for $5.99. That movie just cracked me right open. I have always been thinking about it since I saw it a few days ago, and it is so hugely informative for like just on a pure creative inhibition and ambition level, but what it has to say about spirituality, coven, witchcraft, and how that intersects with faith and loss and mourning, and just getting 20 something year olds and making something like it just is incredible. I'll maybe touch more a bit on that too in our next episode because it ties in with a lot of the people who are in the movie that we're going to talk about. But yeah, thinking about this in Daniel Cretton's Short Term 12, I had always wanted to show you that. It's been on my top 100 for so long, and it's always good to be reminded why a movie is in your top 100 for a reason. And I'm really glad that you stuck to it as much as I was hoping. And outside of that, the other day actually, we haven't really talked about it, but like one of the weird unknowns is like what are the Wachowskis going to be doing next? And Lily, not Lana, the one who didn't make Resurrections, has been
Mhm.
saying they've been for a couple years now trying to make. I wrote it down. They're basically trying to make a $10 million thriller that
Mm.
no studio will finance because, by their own words, it's a quote unquote wall to wall trans cast. And
Oh shit.
like that to me was like such a crazy itch that has been scratched for years of like what are they doing? Are they going the way of the Coens, doing things differently and then maybe come back together? But Lily, especially, like choosing to voluntarily be like, I cannot, I'm not here like you are, my sister, to do resurrections and like where have you been? And I know like there is that like Trash Mountain thing, the like thing that
Yeah.
they're producing that I still am not certain about. Like I thought at first they were gonna direct it, but they were only producing, and they produced a few things, but hearing that Lily has wanted to make that, it's just like, Neon, what are you doing? Like, fuck, even Mubi, even with your Israeli ties, like, you funded Teenage Sex and Death Academy, yes, but like, it is so crazy. Outside of that, though, my partner finally showed me Lemonade Mouth. I had never seen it.
Mm.
Really great music, not a very good movie around it, but I had a lot of fun. Rewatch Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. Still so good. Made me think about our early beginnings as a podcast. Just to think about like where we've gone. And then for obvious reasons, a lot of things around this film specifically, but yeah, man, just been thinking a lot. We did go to the cabin and made me think a lot about just certain films that are related to the lo-fi movement and what I want to do next and how I want that to inform this project that I'm working on. And yeah, and then in terms of music, there really isn't too much if I'm being honest. Ugly UK dropped a single called Marina that is fantastic. I think we have we talked about a group called Man Women Chainsaw.
Mm-mm.
No, fantastic. They've been on my mind lately. They have a few albums that I love. Another artist, Fat Dog. We talked about Fat Dog?
Mhm.
Fat Dog, great. Fat Dog, great. Outside of that, though, those are basically like the three. Been listening to a couple of the songs from Brand New Day. I think it is a pretty good soundtrack, if I do dare say so myself. But yeah, outside of that, man, just like us working and it feels really good to at least work. I think where we go next and how that transpires, I'm always curious about because it feels like with every project we work on, at least for me, and maybe this is a sign of regression, but I always am like, man, how can we go more intimate? How can like on the page, on the screen, um, but it just like I think it's like we have worked with, and I will never slight anybody that we've worked with. And thank you so much for giving us your time. But I think at this point we've worked with so many more non-actor actors than like actors, you
Mm.
know? And I would just be so curious to just like work with one. Like one of the reasons why I do what I do is because like making like the buck stops or begins and stops with me. Like I don't need to speak to anybody. And it feels really, really good. It feels really, really good to like have a stream of subconscious projected onto a project, whether it is indiscernible or not. But I would love to work with like an actual actor in some capacity and see where it goes because I think like you and I are very different stylistically and narratively, but I think that's like what makes us work. Like that's why you're excited for an Nosferatu or a werewolf, and I'm excited for an End of Oak Street. You know,
Mm.
but yeah, man, it's been an interesting past like week and a half to 2 weeks. I'm very excited to see where the rest of the year takes us. I'm very grateful for the trips that we take, and very, very grateful for the movie excursions, the projects that we dive into. I'm very interested to see what we can look back on come December and January and say we did that then. What did we do for like quarter 4 of 2026? You know?
True. Quarter 4 is always the weirdly not a lot's happening like actively, but it feels almost like we have the most on our plate because that's when our weeks are kind of decided by like film schedule, and
Yeah.
it'll be also interesting because this is the first year we're doing the podcast of
Mm-hmm.
how that schedule gets formed around these like movies being distributed in theatrical release dates, and
Big time.
the end of the year will be interesting. And we've talked about extensively like a Halloween episode or like even like
Mm-hmm.
a Christmas episode or like a
Mm-hmm.
holidays episode. And so that'll be fun to do. But like the milling weeks, like September, we're gonna be talking about some fuck shit. Um, if you have any recommendations, audience, please let us know
Yeah.
at beneflickspod@gmail.com.
Aces.
Seriously,
Aces.
email us in recommendations, movies you might want to see us talk about, or ones that might be under our radar that are coming out theatrically.
Mm-hmm.
Always love suggestions. Always love little ideas.
Yeah, because I mean, we always concoct like there's several episodes. I think we're pretty transparent enough to admit like when there's episodes that like we have thought about pretty much like as like a placeholder, and there like we have yet to ever do an episode that it's based off of like oh god we gotta talk about it, you know?
Yeah, usually we have some sort of like tie to it where we at least one of us really wants to talk about it, which I think is always important because I think that we are both good enough at like getting the other person excited for
Hmm.
something, especially if the other person's not fully feeling it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we've never done an episode that like fuck, we have to record an episode. And this is the only thing we have to record on. like worst case scenario, we fucking talk about a movie. We'll talk about the Batman for like the fifth time in a row on the
Oh,
podcast
we are.
before we
Oh, we
talk
are.
about some fuck shit that we don't care about.
Even bullshit that we didn't like Faces of Death, we really did not like. But it's always like good to, it's good to give people some dimension to ourselves where like, it's like, no, we don't love everything, you
That's
know? Like
true.
there is shit that we really do not like. And I've said it before and I probably have said it even in our first episode. Outwardly look forward to the day where you and I are on opposite ends, like such opposite ends.
Yeah,
And
it's gonna be a hard because we very much we've been like engineered
mhm,
because of all the movies we've seen together. Like I think what's our number at right now? I have a tag for
please
this.
do. While you do so, I'll say the one that I will kind of reveal is like I've alluded to it, but like End of Oak Street, for example, is the one that like you're a bit more like lukewarm on, and I'm just in. You know, I think like the trailers were really good, but I'm just like there are certain filmmakers that just like they have like infinite stock in, and not to say that I think David Robert Mitchell has infinite stock, but like I'm there for. But like I at least know that we will, for example, like I think the one that we could have done would have been The Bride. You know, like you hate that movie,
Yeah,
and I
that's true.
really, really love that movie, and it would have been like a good conversation to have. But I think like the world made it to where we weren't seen together. You know, like we didn't see it together, and I I want that to happen because I think it would generate a fun romp between us. But luckily, the shit I've shown you has been like really received
Yeah,
by you.
yeah. No, we're at 418 together. That
Holy
number might be like a little
shit!
bit off of in terms of like maybe a little bit under, but I'm pretty sure we're at 418. So
Holy shit,
seeing
man.
418 movies together over the course of 3 years,
Mhm.
I mean, it's hard for us to not have a very similar. I feel like when you see
No,
that many
yeah.
things together and whatever. But yeah, no, shout out to 500 this year, maybe. You think we can do it? 500 by the end of
I
this year?
think so. I think we'll get remarkably close at the very least, but
80 in 1 year or
hope
80 in 4 months?
I mean shit, we did 4 last night,
That's
So
true. We did 4 last night. And it's funny that you bring up the whole like the bride thing because like there was a reality that which we talked about where we saw a very different movie
mhm.
as our first feature, which
Yeah.
I would say more so myself, but I think we were both kind of feeling like feelings of like it might be really good, but we're both kind of like on it. And the theater that was showing like the projector that was showing the movie like straight up like broke like 20 minutes
Yeah.
before we got there.
Yeah.
So like it was like almost the universe being like, no, like don't watch this one because the whole thing was we had both these two different movies
Mhm.
showing at the same exact time at the same theater. So like either way we could have went, and we were both so indifferent to which one to choose that we were literally going to ask, or you were going to ask like the box office attendant, like choose for us, like
Mhm.
choose one of them.
Mhm.
And the guy was like, oh, sorry, like this movie broke 20 minutes ago, but we have this one. And you're like, okay, well, that's the universe telling us. And it amounted to a very flavorful and fruitful four movie
It
feat.
did. It did work out for the better. Like we rarely have had like bad. We've had like not so good, but like we if we go to our local theater that like is at most like 8 miles away, that means so much less than driving all the way out to Los Angeles.
Oh, for sure.
And like we've talked about it, like we have our friend Josue. If you haven't followed Film Bro Sway, like he goes to LA and like he has seen shit. Like he has like seen absolute shit. And I'm like, you got to do it for the culture, and like you have the sentiment that I agree with up until a certain point where it's like it's better to have more movies than not because like then I'm just like bro shit you could have gave me 100 things of Thin Mints than make Cookie Queen. So like in my opinion, like there is some god awful, like abysmal stuff, and like what people have like. It's so funny how there's so many people in my life that have asked me more. What is my least favorite movie than what is my favorite movie?
Yeah.
And I always at every single turn am like dumbfounded. I'm like, I really don't know. And then I have to like go through the bullshit route of like, well, then I have to think about the ethical ones. And then like that's the one that I wind up choosing because like I routinely just don't watch many bad movies, and I also just think I have so much that I feel is good about a movie and that I just like lean on that.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think there will be plenty opportunities later down the line for us to talk about bullshit, but like I think yeah, you don't watch 418 movies because we have somewhat of a like an energy together, but a lot of it is just like
Parallel. We have a lot of overlapping, you know.
We ain't no Siskel and Ebert, you know, like
Who?
Roger Ebert, like Roger Ebert, the critic.
Yeah.
The two people that like would like review things and like they would give it like two thumbs up or like a thumbs up and thumbs down. Because routinely, like that's like those are like the critics. And then Roger Ebert passed away, but like they would always disagree. Like that was
Oh,
just their
really?
thing. But and I think about that because it's like I think they stuck it out because like that was also partially what made them so famous and engaging was how
Yeah.
they would combat. But it was always like professionalism first. Like they're of a time and an era where that was the thing, but like they treated film as like a true genuine art form. Not like we don't, but like we it's always like, man, how did this movie make you feel? Like, what did you think via the way it made you feel? Not the mise en scène, you know? Like,
Yeah.
that'll come with the territory, but we would not be doing this if it merely was like, movie good, movie bad, why? Like, we spend more time sometimes talking about everything but the movie in question.
We also, I don't think, seek out things that we know we're not going to like.
No.
Like, I think that,
No.
like, there are plenty of things that we can go watch and give you guys, like, a very half-assed look. Like, One Night Only is out in theaters right now,
Yeah.
you know, and not to say that we both would not like that or both would like it, but, like, I think we both know that the high is only going to go so high and the low has a very large space to
Without
go.
question.
And so it's like, there's no point in forcing the newest movie out and being like, okay, guys, like, we're both pretty lukewarm on it.
Yeah.
Like, and when you're lukewarm on something like that, you just start talking about plot points and being
Yeah.
like, oh, that was interesting or not interesting, or
It-
and that's when things like lose a lot of steam for us. Is when you're pivoted and sorry, you're forced into a corner where you have to talk about a film more technically
Mhm.
because you aren't impassioned to talk about it like emotionally.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's like the worst shit ever for us. That's why we try to avoid things that we probably know are not going to be. And don't get me wrong, and don't get Liz wrong. Like, we both are people who have been surprised, like, very much so.
Mhm.
Even yesterday, we saw something that we both didn't know fully how we were going to feel. And we both ended up going out loving it.
Mhm.
So, you know, we try to take risk and whatnot, but there are some things like Cookie Queens, you know, like, we're not going to watch Queens and
There's no
fucking.
point to it. Like I at one point I'm doing content creation was kind of that person where it was like, oh, I want to boost my viewership and get how as far reach as I can, which then made me watch like if you go back on my YouTube, like why did I have a video where I reviewed Hugh Jackman's Reminiscence? Like I don't remember a fucking thing about that, you know?
I didn't know that was a movie until you just said it.
Yeah, it was like a straight to HBO, like in the midst of 2020, 2021 thing. But I hope this hubbubaloo about going to see movies that we like and making videos because we want to translates because we have good things to say about this movie at hand. So let's clear the webbing and talk about it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, man.
Clear the
Do you
webbing.
want to do the plot, or would you like me to do the plot about Brand New Day?
I can do it. Brand New Day,
Okay.
directed by Destin Daniel Cretin.
Cretin.
Fuck.
That's
Alright,
okay,
fucked
man.
up.
It's okay. It's okay.
This is the fourth film in the Tom Holland Spider-Man films. This is post No Way Home, where
years.
No Way Home was up until that point, and I think technically up and still the biggest Spider-Man film of all time. I think it still holds the number one spot.
Yeah.
And that was obviously with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield returning as their roles of Peter Parker and the whole multiversal thing and yada yada yada. But that movie ends off with basically everyone kind of finds out that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and so in order to, I can't remember exactly the logic of it, but in order to essentially make things go back to normal, Doctor Strange had to enact a spell that basically makes everyone forget that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, like everyone, even himself. So no one remembers this fact. Spell goes through, and Brand New Day basically picks up a couple years, I believe.
4 years.
It's 4 years because it's college. 4 years after the events of No Way Home, where Peter Parker is living with his isolation and extreme depression because not only did he lose his best friend and the love of his life, but also he is experiencing weird bodily things in tandem with this depression and this sadness and this loneliness. And you know, he's made some new connections that are very flimsy along the way, but for the most part, he is sad and bitter and whatever. And this all comes at a turn when he basically gets asked by the control the fuck.
I think you're good. I think you're good. I think you're good. I think you're
Yeah, I
good.
guess not to introduce the villain, but whatever. There's a villain and there's Spider-Man. Whatever, whatever.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
heated nachos.
Okay. This is so fascinating. This is so fascinating. I know you rated the movie,
Yeah,
but I think there is so much context behind the fact that like the last MCU movie you saw theatrically was Guardians 3, correct?
that sounds
Because I don't know
correct.
why the fuck you would have seen fucking Captain America,
Yeah,
like.
that sounds correct. It's probably Guardians 3.
And that I think is infused by the fact that like the two movies prior are quite good. And we have like stock considerably in James Gunn. Like I knew you in the very beginning because that was May of 2023. Like that was a couple months after we had met. And we had shared an exchange. Like we like the Guardians films. Like those are separate. Like I think by design, those are in a whole different like fucking space and everything.
Yeah,
So I'm not even gonna necessarily count that. So but like the concept to me of you going by yourself, might I add, going to see this movie, I had to chuckle at. I was like, oh, this guy's actually going to see a Spider-Man movie.
yeah,
And, not just a Spider-Man movie, but a Marvel movie in the MCU. Because what both you and I agree on is we don't care. We just don't care.
yeah. I could
It,
care less.
it's priorities like what we have talked about to length. If you haven't already, go check out our video talking about the Raimi films. Like every one of those movies ends like a book closing. And it works because then the film that follows is a reason for you to read the next one,
Yeah,
giving you a tagline to read it. And you read it and then it ends the book again. There is no like loose piece of paper with a post-credit scene that is trying to advertise something else. It is a complete story. And for me, I could think of many words that translate to why that works: integrity, individuality, identity, whatever you want to say. But I just don't care about these films that are placeholders to set up something bigger. And I would like to say that I think the reaction that both like Tom Holland has gotten in his fame, giving him more creative liberty and like a foothold in creative decision making, but also like Sony has made it clear that like they understand that like there is so much that a lot of people don't like about Watts films, but to see you go to see this film is crazy. And so I would like to know if you can walk me through what it was like watching this film by yourself. Did it start off and you're like, "Oh no." Did it build? Was there things that were like, "Oh fuck yeah." Was it pretty like steadfast? Like talk to me through that.
yeah. I mean, I'm a human, and I think that to some degree, to some
Yes.
degree, it's like really easy for people to lie and be like, I go into every film with a blank slate and yada yada yada. Like that's not the truth for me. Like
No.
everyone has their own preconceived notions of things. Everyone has their expectations. Now, whether you let those enforce your overall thoughts is like dependent on the person, and like sometimes it's unavoidable. Like
Yeah.
you very much aired out the sentiment. Like if you are building expectations on a film based upon things like outside of it,
Mhm.
and then you go in and are disappointed because of those expectations you set, you think that's just a very dumb logic. And I agree with you, but I also think that sometimes it's unavoidable.
Oh, I agree.
It's like it's a human
Yeah.
psyche thing. Like we get
Mhm.
excited for things because of whatever, and we don't get excited for things because whatever. And so if especially how pivotal marketing is, especially for a film as big as Spider-Man, that is going to take effect and take hold on expectations, and so it's hard, even though like, or we both knew that going into the fourth one, there's gonna be a whole new director who was promising, especially from your point of view, because you have
Mhm.
seen more of their work.
Mhm.
It was very easy to be like, okay, like I trust the process with this guy, but as someone who was going into it basically pretty blind, besides watching Short Term 12, because I've heard very middling things on Shang-Chi. Like I've heard
Mhm.
very middling things. I've heard some people
Mhm.
say it's really cool action, but I heard that the third act gets sloppy and whatever. So I'm like, okay, like this guy obviously is not immune to the disease. And even to some extent, like the first Black Panther is good, but like even that's not a flawless film. And we know that Ryan Coogler is like the guy. Like
Yeah.
before Black Panther and even after Black Panther, like he knows how to make a phenomenal movie.
Mhm.
So this gamut of the MCU circuit, you can be the most empowered and visionary filmmaker going into it. It does not stop the train from still chugging, which is the MCU brand, right?
Mhm.
I don't give a fuck about John Watts films. I don't. You don't either.
No.
The three I could not care less about. I know that No Way Home is notoriously like aged like milk. Like you go into it and
Yeah.
you're like, well, like my
Yeah.
bones feel strengthened, and then on a second and third watch, it's like, wow, like this was it almost feels factory made, which is so funny because even with Far From Home and No Way Home, those don't feel factory made. Those just feel like just boring. But No Way Home does feel like a factory made movie. And with all the pieces that are in place there and all the connections of what they needed that movie to do financially, it makes sense that, fucking Kevin Feige was shadow directing that movie. But at the end of the day, like, I would rather see a movie with more heart take a swing and completely bomb at the box office than have a scientifically engineered film make bands. Long version of saying, like, I going into Brand New Day, I was very much of the sentiment of like, okay, like, unfortunately, it's hard for me not to think, okay, like, we are in an MCU state that is very dour and very much like the quality of work they're putting out is not very good. And so there was things early on where I'm like, okay, like, this isn't swaying me. Like I'm unfortunately on the hater side and this isn't swaying me.
Okay.
And then by the time it kind of found its footing and got into it, I had to acknowledge and, I had to admire what it was doing very well. And, I came out of the movie overall very much positive on it and very much of the sentiment that a lot of people are airing out, which is it is easily the best of the four.
Yeah.
And I do agree that it is probably one of the best in the Spider-Man series. But for the most part, like, it's hard not to acknowledge that a lot of what this film is doing very well has been also done very well in other Spider-Man film. And that just kind of comes with the territory of it being a Spider-Man story. There's only probably so much ground you can cover, especially like when it comes to a mainstream audience grabbing hold of the Spider-Man story and what you're able to show and what you're able to put onto the screen. But from what it was giving me and from the effort that was put in, like, it is hard not to deny the effort and the energy and the overall just enthusiasm. I learned after watching Brand New Day that, like, Destin Daniel Cretton literally turned down Doomsday to make Brand New Day, which is kind of, or I guess it wasn't to make Brand New Day, but he did turn down Doomsday, which is what allowed Brand New Day to get tossed in his direction, which is really cool to see because, like, the director who makes Doomsday is going to make like enough money to fucking feed a village.
Yeah.
So him turning that down because I think he just knew like it wasn't a movie that was for a director. It's a movie that's made for a studio. That is a cool thing to see, and I think that made me respect him as a filmmaker more, and by virtue made me respect the film as a whole more because it felt like, okay, he had a vision for this. Like he had a very specific thing in mind for this, and even though there was probably studio meddling and Marvel and Sony are probably at each other's necks during the process of this. Like, him and Tom Holland both worked in tandem to make like this as authentic of a Spider-Man movie as we've gotten in since the Raimi films. So that's cool. Long version of saying of like, this is the first movie I've seen in a theater in a very long time by myself. I don't really watch movies in theaters a lot by myself, just because usually if I'm watching something, you also have a interest in it and we see it together, or I have another friend that has an interest in it and we see it with them. And so this was a unique experience of watching something alone in a theater by myself since like the end of last year. So like a good 7 months. And it was fun. It was fun. I mean, I think if I'm walking out of an MCU movie and I'm just walking, I mean, like, that was a fun time. Like, it did its job, because all the MCUers are the people who are like, it's entertainment, man. Like, it's not that serious. It's entertainment. Okay, so entertain me, and it did that. It entertained me. So,
did the movie hit you at all emotionally, though?
No,
really?
No, I don't care. But I don't. I wish it did. I wish it did. The Raimi films got me, and I love Marissa Tomei. I do. She's not a candle to Aunt May in the Raimi films. Rosemary Harris.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, just it's an uphill battle for Marissa, especially because canonically her character is dead. But Rosemary Harris is just like my heart and soul, and like very much like does so much legwork for me. And although the scene that she has towards the end, kind of like the flashback, the subconscious moment, it's a terrific scene, terrific moment, and I know that's what gets a lot of people. For me, it was just okay. The closest that got me was probably my favorite scene in the film, which we'll talk about later. But to answer your question broadly, no, it didn't get me emotionally.
That's crazy. And I'm not even referencing that. Like, that scene doesn't make me cry. But there's like One, two, three. There's three other moments that I like. I'm like,
Oh damn.
oh. Um, Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I will say that right before I watched this movie, I tried to rewatch Homecoming specifically because I'll never touch Far From Home. I think that movie's god awful. And No Way Home, like I'm afraid to touch it because I know it's just not going to work. But it also like I wanted to get the most of what I love about Tom Holland, and I stopped that movie 30 minutes in. I think it is so vapid and vacant of to me what people are so quick to actually praise the movie for, where it's like, oh, it doesn't feel like an MCU movie. It feels like a fucking John Hughes movie. No, it doesn't. Like the movie looks horrendous. First of all, like I don't. And the one thing I will say is like I am not just a John Watts hater. I think like I'm the only one in the world that saw the movie he did with George Clooney and Brad Pitt, Wolves, that I actually think is so much fun, and it looks really, really great. If you haven't already, like, and like you say, you appreciate Destin Daniel Cretton. Like I will say in that same vein, I appreciate John Watts because that movie made like some of the best like viewership for Apple TV, and they were immediately like, okay, let's do a sequel. And he's like, okay, I want it theatrical, and they said no, and he's like, okay, I'm not doing it, and he just
Mm.
and like that like talk about like he has all the money already, but like he turned it down and is like kind of still trying to see what he could do next. Like I think his first film, Cop Car, is really, really good with Kevin Bacon, and Wolves is awesome. But like there is something so devoid in those movies. The CGI looks terrible. I don't give a fuck. Like it literally makes it a point to try and link Michael Keaton's Vulture, a great performance, into something that is larger than Peter Parker and Tom Holland, and I just do not care. I don't like the way that they try to like sexualize Marissa Tomei because she's the youngest Aunt May and she's hot. Like none of it works for me. Like it really, really doesn't. I don't think it's like a fucking like dumpster waste fire bin movie, but like there is so many different flavors of Spider-Man movies that work to resounding levels. I have no interest, and I just think like those three films lose me, in different ways.
Also, fuck John Favreau.
I agree. Yeah,
Happy
yeah.
Hogan's not a good character.
No, he's not. And he's in it so much. That is a very good
He's
point.
them in all of them.
But like I was too excited. I won't lie. Like I think in the last episode you can literally see that. Like I'm like, no, I have hope. Like we're watching Short Term 12. I have seen literally every single one of Destin Daniel Cretton's feature films. I have issues with Shang-Chi, but he is at least doing things. Like if he can resuscitate Bill Pope to actually choreograph or shoot choreography really, really well, you are a great filmmaker. And he's a great guy. Like as much as I don't like Shang-Chi for a lot of reasons, the concept of like when the pandemic hit, he requested, like begged Marvel to let him edit in Hawaii because that's where his family lives and he wanted to be close with them. And there's like a whole beautiful like video, and like he is a filmmaker that literally has spent the past weeks leading up to the release of Brand New Day making an Instagram post for a department head that nobody knows. And he is a very, very, very sweet man. Like he just is a guy who from Short Term 12, like you cannot make that and not be a person who cares about humans and love and togetherness. And I think that has been the through line throughout all of his movies. But I will say, like, a Marvel movie is a Marvel movie now. And I went in and, you know, I'll say that like immediately you can tell visually the movie is just so much better. Like it isn't this amazing fucking sweeping film with so much depth and like it's one of my favorite shot films of the year, but like there is intent. Like there is intent and depth and dynamism to it, and the suit looks really, really good in my opinion. But like I wasn't like fully hooked yet. Um but there kind of comes a moment where you realize like Peter like follows Ned. That's all I will say. And like from that moment on, I was like, oh no, I'm really, really into this. Like I'm really, really into this. And I will say I've rewatched the film since, and I definitely don't think it's perfect, but I do think it's the best live action Spider-Man film we've had since Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3. Um, it feels the most like tonally aware while being unfortunately still a part of the MCU, but I do think the characters that it brings in are justified and work to speak on a behalf of a part of Peter or his struggle or his journey while also feeling like a comic book in a lot of ways. But no, I love this. And the reason why I asked because you're like, it's fun. And I ask if you connected emotionally. I find like three moments in particular. One that I do think is like one of the best pieces of Spider-Man in live action media, which is like someone makes a drawing of Spider-Man, and I'm like, no, that's really, really brilliant because I think the movie makes such a point of like him wearing his mask, and I think there is weirdly, and I don't know if it's the Challengers writer Justin Kuritsky's or whether it's like Destin Daniel Cretton like and Tom Holland getting the Odyssey bands, but like there is clear like a narrative start and a finish. And I do appreciate a film that is willing to like actually close a book. And I will say that I think the ending is great. Like I love the ending so much. And in ways that like and I'm pointing these things out because emotional beats and endings specifically are things that I think the Marvel movies suffer so greatly on because they're like overlooking a sunrise where they're introducing a new character by the end, and I'm like, I don't care, I don't care. Then I really like. I get why, but I will never be a person that is shooting for like those kinds of bullshit ass movies. Like that immediately is not a movie but a placeholder, and that is something that just works against why I love art. But no, and I think Tom Holland's fantastic in the movie. Like I do think like it is finally the movie where I get why people, even older people, not just people that are younger than us, that this was their Spider-Man, but people who are much older saying like he is the best Spider-Man. Personally, I think what Tobey Maguire does with his eyes like is so inspired, but I get why people think that that is bad. I just like I get why people think Tom Holland is the best Spider-Man. Like I think this film just worked for me in so many ways. I love the way that it does in fortunate and unfortunate ways reheat like Spider-Man 2's nachos in ways of like
Yeah.
performance and what it means to be the spider.
It's like a mix of 2 and 3 for Raimi films.
Yeah,
Like it's taking the whole like losing bodily control and like things are
yeah,
happening. You can't really understand why powers are going away and then
yeah,
spiking. Like
yeah.
the whole two of it. But then you also have like the evil Peter Parker of number 3, where he's like
Mm-hmm.
losing control and he has to like basically tackle with his morality and ultimately like the choice of like okay, like you need to. I guess the how the Brand New Day wraps up, it's much more embedded in like okay, like the way you lead your life,
Yeah,
which is very much a thing with the Raimi films. But I guess those are much more embedded in like leading your life based on the choices that you make.
yeah,
But yeah, no, I mean, uh, Brand New Day is really like it is a return to form in terms of like very much focusing on Peter Parker as the character, because even like the inclusion of the Hulk in this one
mm-hmm.
is not the same degree as like a an Iron Man in Homecoming, right?
Yeah,
Or not as like a Doctor Strange in No Way Home. Like the Hulk is very much a smaller piece to it. And granted, I'm of the sentiment, and I agree with everyone else that like that's just the lizard. Like you literally could just put the lizard there, and
sure,
nothing changes. If anything,
sure.
it probably does. It probably makes the film feel a little less stuffed. Because I do think that's again the biggest issue with this movie is I think it tries to stuff in too many characters and too many things
Mm,
because of what they're trying to set up.
mm-hmm.
And as much as I don't mind the way the villain's presented in this, it's very clear that they're trying to make just flesh her out as much as possible for the future of what that
Sure,
character is to bring, which,
sure.
like we said, it comes with the grounds of it being an MCU film.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a much worse way to do that. We've seen Spider-Man films that are overstuffed, and we've seen Spider-Man films that have too much shit going on
Yeah.
to the point where it like detrimentally affects how the film's quality comes out. I don't think it's the case here. I just think that unfortunately, like when it comes to a very well-made Spider-Man film, the weakest part is just how much is in it.
Mm,
At the same time, however, I was never bored. I
mm-hmm.
was never not invested in the story. I was never not caring what was happening. I do have a qualm, and it's probably one that people don't really agree with, and I'm not really trying to here to defend it, but I don't think that these movies know how to use Ned as a best friend character. I think he's just always
Interesting.
consistently annoys me. I don't think the performer even does that good of a job. I
Mm,
and I don't even want to blame him entirely because I think it might just be how that character is consistently written. But I think that it sucks because everything that that actor is in outside of Spider-Man is
mm-hmm.
terrible.
He
And
was in Novocaine, right?
he was in Novocaine, and he's in that one with Jason Momoa, the new
Yeah,
one,
yeah,
where he's
yeah.
like doing backflips off
It's,
of the
it's
phone.
clearly not him. Yeah.
Um,
I get what you mean. I will say that like I think it's this is the one that like puts him to the side the most out of like I agree like I don't buy at all like he is like the guy behind the chair and like
yeah,
him and like Ned are like best friends like it never really has worked for me at all. But I will say that I think this movie and I give it its flowers. I think whether through the writing or the way that like the simple choice of just like choosing like better lighting like I think like I do feel that these characters are older. I do think that they have aged, and I
I agree
think
with
like
that.
they are different people than when they were in the three previous movies. Um, and I think the movie isn't trying so desperately to like make him and Ned like pushed as hard. And this is coming from someone that when No Way Home ended, I was like, okay, we're gonna get a fourth. This is going to make $2 billion. I pray on everything. Drop MJ and Ned. Let's get a whole new round robin of characters. And this is not that at all, and yet I still like really, really do dig it. But I don't disagree with you. I can understand that. Like it just didn't bother me because I barely think like he's in it the least out of all three of the or four of the movies, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, the ending is pretty reliant on their dynamic though, and that's kind of where like I can understand someone really enjoying the ending and like feeling there's a lot of like emotional ties there and like a real like powerfulness to it. But as someone who does not care about the relationship or that character, I was like left being like, okay,
Interesting.
like I was like, oh, like whatever, like I don't really care,
Mm.
and that's like what sucks is because like the when you were talking about like the emotionality of it all and like what if the scene got me close to like hitting me or whatever. There is that scene which I will bring up, which I don't think is really. We'll try to avoid spoilers for the most part because I don't think they're really necessary for this movie.
I agree.
The scene basically is when she finds the note essentially, and I think that's a phenomenal scene. And I was like, okay, this is a phenomenal scene. How do you finish it off with it like feeling special? Because I was like, this feels good. And then I think just the simple decision to basically have him swing her back, if that makes sense, is actually the closest that got me to like being like, oh well, like that's actually like really, really like that's like a terrific moment. Like
Yeah.
and I almost want to believe that that's Justin Hurwitz or whatever. Because like I'm like, well, that's like a sauce that we've been unheard of in these type of movies. But like that's a moment where I'm like that like actually like is really emotionally powerful and just like the simple fact of not having dialogue there and just having it be just existent. It's like fuck, like that gets me. But at the same time, I do think that like the way that the emotionality comes in with the villain character and where they kind of stand in all of it and how the sister arc and the flashbacks like I don't know like I just wish that like the movie could like help itself, but like it's so insistent on and I'm pushing this future for Marvel and like we've talked about again and we brought up the same episode. Unfortunately, that's the ground that it's built on. Like you can't stop the train. The MCU train's gonna chug and you're gonna let it chug. But it just sucks because I'm like I really don't think the through line is strong enough for Peter and this character of the villain character. Like I don't think the through line is strong enough between them to justify the amount of effort you're putting in. And granted, I'd rather have a movie care about its villain and put more effort into justifying them and giving them more fleshed out characterization. But at the same time, I was like, it's hard for me not to view this and immediately be like, well, you're doing this because this is going to be the main character to this next movie.
Interesting. I think it really does come down to like the way that things are wrapped up. Like even like, and that's where I really do praise the movie. Like when I heard that Punisher was in this movie, I was like, what the fuck are we doing? I think they're great. I think like that dynamic is so strong, and it is so crazy because like on paper, the last interaction that he has with Frank, a lot of it is played for laughs, but there is such like just like a truth to it, like in a humanism that really does just flow. And I think I really did love the way that like it landed off with the villain in the movie. Like it's a simple like leave, like they just leave, and it isn't like, oh, it pans up to a mansion. That's all I will say. But like it worked for me because I think like the way that the movie wrapped up left me very curious in ways that I was like, okay, I would be curious to see where it goes, and it isn't trying to show me a taste of where it does go. And while I hear where you're coming from, where it's like the existence of the character in the movie, and especially like Peter creates a device that helps to stabilize like his arachnid DNA. It is clearly like a MacGuffin that is probably going to be used going forward. And sadly, I think like the one thing that I will say in the conversation that I won't really want to like I won't try to have is Bryan Singer is a terrible human being, but the fact that like a gay man made X-Men, like that is the only way it can be done. Like and those movies are terrific, but like you were gonna get the most washed down, sanitized version of that ever, and that like to like choose to have Magneto be at like the concentration camp, and have him be branded, and like like even in like Last Stand, which has fucking Brett Ratner, he's like talking about I was branded once and that'll never happen again. Like these are things that we will never ever get. Like even in First Class, when like fucking Kevin Bacon is like, I want you, if you're immune, like curve the bullet or stop her from doing that or whatever, like bend the coin. Like these are like unbelievable moments that we'll never see remotely in an MCU project, and that breaks my heart.
Yeah.
And it's sad because like I think the way that the movie ends leaves me curious, but I'm okay with the way it ends, and I especially love the way that it concludes. Like MJ and Peter, and like there's a look that felt like reminiscent of like just the stuff that like makes me long and yearn the way that like Sam Raimi directed. Not to the same caliber, of course, but I do think there is like a prowess on display, regardless of for me like. Yeah, did a Hulk need to be in this? No, I don't necessarily agree with it. Could have been the Lizard, because I do love the significance of like they have done a decent job with like Ruffalo's Hulk. I do think the optics though of him being like such a outward like advocate for Palestinians, like the way that it ends with him, the concept of like him being in the movie, like it ended already before Brand New Day with like Hulk having like a happy ending, but now he like reverts back to being Hulk and like he's taken away, like, and I doubt he's ever going to be in an MCU project again,
Yeah, I mean, it's just really interesting. I think because my first thought when saw that scene was, okay, this is just the first Amazing Spider-Man with the Lizard. Like that's how the fight feels.
Mhm.
And then I was like, wait, what changes if you just don't make it the Hulk? And the simple fact that I cannot think of an answer, and it literally is just the Hulk's in this movie because it's gonna get one person to be like, well, I have to see Brand New Day now. It's the Hulk versus Spider-Man.
Sure, but I also think to that point, like technically, the Lizard hasn't been like the Lizard that was in No Way Home is the guy from TASM,
Yeah.
So like they would have to introduce Kurt Connors, and what I will say is like the one thing I don't like about this movie is like he's not broke enough. He is not broke enough. Like, we never see what his job is. He's Palantir Parker. Like, he is doing all this surveillance. And I've been hearing angles of, like, oh, like, his surveillance and the data facial recognition thing, like, it shows that only works to a point, and, like, it is not okay. I'm like, the movie is not making a critique on that at all.
No.
Like, not whatsoever. And then, like, there is the whole angle, like, one thing that I don't understand is, like, when people are like, oh, my God, like, this is propaganda. I'm like, I'm so sorry. That is like embedded to the nature and the DNA of superhero stuff. Like superhero media is inherently like a conservative thing. Like that is just the way it is. That isn't me trying to absolve, but it's just a matter of fact. Like I don't understand like why you are shocked at that.
If anything, the best movies to like go against that would be like the X-Men movies, because the whole thing is like they go against mutants and they try to rehabilitate the bad mutants. Everything else is okay. We stopped them. Now they're left for the cops.
Like everything. As much as I think it's one of the best movies ever made, like the Batman like is also like Officer Jimenez in that. Like, come on, guys, come on. Like they like anyway, but like it does frustrate me because it's just like. The movie has made it a point. Like the moment we were introduced to Tom Holland Spider-Man in Civil War, like he is taking all this like broken, like undone, like tech to refurbish it. Like he is known as like the tech Spider-Man. That's not mine. Like I don't care. Like to me that takes away. Like I want to see him broke. Like it could have been something as simple as like him taking photos in a scene or two for the Daily Bugle or any of that. But like we get none of it, and that isn't really the movie's priority, and that kind of sucks because I do love it, and it is like. As much as I love it, and there is like a humanity to it, and I think Tom Holland is fantastic, and I love the suit. It's the first time that like you could fully see the eyes through the lenses, and like it works really, really well for me, and I think it ties into the themes. And you're right about that scene in the ship with the MJ and Peter. Like she's like, take off the mask, and like you can feel him, like you can feel the guilt, you can feel the sadness. Like I love the moment where they're on the balcony and he embraces that. Like I'm like, oh, Tom Holland is so good. Like I do love him. I know we differ about him in the Odyssey, but like I think he is fantastic. And I do like the villain, but I wish like we got more of the struggle. And I think like the montage in the beginning, I do quite enjoy. And it is such a significant step up from what Watts was trying to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad that you at least enjoyed it. I wish it hit you a bit more emotionally. Like I think that moment when he sees the kid at the end, I think is really fucking great. Like there are these things that I'm like, man, we could have just had this from day one. We really could have. And it does leave the thing where it's like, I love this movie. It is not clearing any of the verse or the Raimi films, but it sits right below that for me.
Yeah.
And it's the best of what it could have been given the confines and the machinations of the cinematic universe. I still stand by it. Whatever MCU movie we talk about, I will stand. I don't care where it goes. I'm curious to see what happens with as long as like Cretin stays, because I do think like if Cretin stay, like I think only good can be done with Spider-Man, given like Sony will never sell the rights.
Oh no.
Like this movie exists the way it does because of Sony. Like I will stand on that. But like I don't give a fuck about the world outside of it at all. But I am curious as long as Cretin stays, because everyone is praising this film for rightful technical elements and like a humanism that they hired Cretin to do. And I think like if he stays, I would be curious to see what happens next. That's pretty much where I stand. You know?
True. Doesn't hold a candle to Tyson 1 where they move the crane so he can swing on them. That's fire.
It's good. It's really good. Like I don't get me wrong, but like
this one was also interesting too because everyone's like throwing the compliment of like this one finally makes New York feel like embedded to Spider-Man as a character compared to the John Watts films. But I still feel like it's such a back burner to the movie.
Yeah, I can understand that.
And like not even to like keep throwing like the Raimi comparison out, because even still, like I do think TASM 1 has that phenomenal moment, and like maybe it's the only phenomenal moment in TASM 1.
Yeah.
But like that is a direct, like you need some of that campiness, but like New York is embedded to Spider-Man as a character.
Yeah.
And this one, it felt so much more like New York's destroyed now that Spider-Man. It's like, okay, like you're throwing it in increments, but this movie also, out of all of them, besides No Way Home and besides TASM 2, feels the most like spread out everywhere. Like this movie's trying to do a lot of things, and I'm very grateful because most of the things that it's trying to do, it catches and like lands it. But some of the things slip through the cracks or don't fit in as snug as a rug in a rug, because of how wide its web is, right?
Yeah, and I don't I don't disagree, because I think like there are the moments where like they're like throwing trash at like Norman, a Green Goblin in the first one, or even like to that point, like you talk about TASM 1, there's that moment, or even that scene on the bridge, right, where he like saves the kid and puts the mask on. Like I think those are fantastic.
You're a bully.
Yeah, but like what I think is the other side to it all is making it feel like a lived-in city. And I think those moments like where he follows Ned to the party or is walking through the streets, like it is so fascinating, and I cannot like remark this anymore. Like, sure, it might be the same block set that they use, just like from a different angle, but it felt like real enough to where I bought it. Where like a movie like Deadpool and Wolverine, like they have that block where like all the Deadpools are there. Nothing has ever felt more lifeless for me in my life.
Oh yeah, and I guess like to the movie's credit as well, the fact that it was able to do that for you is impressive, especially because it was shot in London, right?
So like shot in Glasgow, yeah, Glasgow. I don't know where Glasgow is.
Glasgow or Glasgow?
Is there two different ones?
I don't even know Glasgow. I've never even heard Glasgow.
That's what I just read. I don't know where that is.
Yeah,
not shot in New York, which is weird because like he was like, yeah, we just couldn't. I'm like, why not? Like they're Devil Wears Prada 2 literally shot entirely in New York.
I guess what I saw was he was saying that like in London it's a lot easier to
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I shoot in New York, bitch. Like again, the effort is there and I can feel it. And like there is that moment where like he lands on the car and he's like, I got you, Spider-Man, and then he puts the car in sport mode. I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. And at times it still has that like sludginess to it. And one thing I don't understand it. Like TASM 2 color wise looks fantastic. Like I think it looks color wise fantastic.
I'm trying to think about it. I know the suit looks really cool.
It's just like that is New York, and like I don't know, because like the first TASM isn't that, you know, like it just is like it's at least it's gray with an intent of gray, where like these Marvel films are like gray sludge for whatever reason, you know. Like I think it was a stylistic choice to make it more grounded.
Yeah,
does not work for me though.
They don't know how to shoot rooftop shit though. I feel like every single one of these movies, like even this one, like every time they're on top of a rooftop, it just looks kind of weird. And like I don't know if it's a blue screen. I don't know why it's a recurring issue, because they obviously had it down in Raimi and in, I would say, the TASM films. But for some reason, especially with these MCU ones, every time there's a rooftop scene, like because I agree with you, that easily like the best looking fucking Holland Spider-Man movie, like by a country mile, not even close. But for some reason, they can't nail the rooftop stuff. I don't know why.
Yeah, there's some of the CGI was like, oh, okay, but like I really do love the fact that like Cretin worked with Brett Powlack, the DP that he worked with for the short term 12 short film. Like it's like there is some dynamism to it. Like that moment when he gets the call and he runs out of the bodega and it's like a handheld shot. I'm like, that's great. That's really good. And my hope is given that like Cretin is getting praised and now like Coogler's doing Black Panther 3 and like they're shooting it on like 65 and 70 and like my hope is like we're in this era where people really do care about the technicality.
Yeah.
And what that translates to filmic wise, I don't know. Like I know Kevin Feige has said like there is not going to be a Marvel film for 2 years from Doomsday to Secret Wars. Like there is not going to be anything. Again, it's like shit in a toilet, then eating a food, and then shit in another toilet. But like I really, but then we have Sean Levy's Ghost Rider, so it's like, I don't care, but like when we do get ones, like we will show up. Like when we got to see Superman, I think you gave it the same rating, a 3.5. But like we still really enjoyed it, you know?
Yeah.
I think the last superhero movie that you loved was Across the Spider-Verse, if I'm not mistaken, 2023.
That sounds correct, yeah.
And that's for like a whole different medium and reason, but and I'm okay with it. Like I thought at one point I would be much sadder that like I don't love these movies as much as I do, but I'm okay with it because there's so much shit that I care about more now. And it's good to talk about it. It's good to like I'm so thankful for this moment. Like we had the Obsessions and Backrooms moment, but the Odyssey Spider-Man, like going to the theater and it being the most full I've ever experienced in my life, like it felt really fucking good. And like this movie right now is about to hit $2 billion. Like Spider-Man is the most bankable character of all time, and it feels really great to know that like the person behind the vehicle is the most a human has been a human since Sam Raimi, and we'll never get like a grounded Spider-Man, and you can't even get it with student films like Spider-Man Lotus. You know?
Yeah. To those who are watching this and don't watch anything besides Marvel movies, try watching a bit more. It is such a crazy worldview, like seeing more, seeing more and better outside of the limitations of it having to continue and be like it's kind of like TV show logic of like this episode is going to be tied in with this episode. Like I guess people just like the whole interconnectedness and looking at the red lines and being like, oh, this was in this but I don't know. I promise you, the people who are writing these movies are not thinking about it that in depth. Where the majority of fans who are still into it are thinking about the plot and the stories more than the people who are writing it themselves.
If we get the confirmation that Justin Kuritzky's is writing the next one, it makes me happy too because like they aren't pushing like Destin. I guess is doing a live action Naruto movie. I guess. But like they're like we'll wait for him to finish that.
I actually have never wanted to end an episode faster in my entire life. Daniel, we lost you, Daniel. We lost you, Destin.
So, but anyway, my friends, thank you guys for tuning in today. I know we waited and waited. I think next week's episode is going to be a lot of interesting conversations because it's been a long time coming. It would be nice for you to rewatch at least one.
I'll probably do that.
And I think we'll talk more about the movies we watched last night next week on our episode, and then after that, maybe we'll get prehistoric with some dinos. I don't know. I'm sorry, bro. Anyway, though, guys, please, if for anything, I know we're talking about the biggest movie of all time, but go watch. Like yesterday, we did 2 where we didn't know anything, and we watched them. You know.
Go watch Spider-Man again, form your opinion, and then watch something you've never even heard of before and see which one you like more.
Yeah, and again, let us know what it is. Email us in at beneflickspod@gmail.com. Follow all of our socials in the description. Our letterboxes, my Instagram, my YouTube, my ASMR, my non-ASMR stuff. I'm really trying to get back into logging like non-ASMR stuff too. This is a multi-content faceted thing, guys, and we always appreciate you sticking along on this journey.
And remember, with great power...
Peter, the horse is